Good afternoon, and welcome to Brunch and Budget on Bonfire Radio with your host, Pamela Capallet, a certified financial planner here to help take the bite out of your budget, brunchandbudget.com. I'm your sound provider, Dialect, and here's your host, Pamela Capallet.
Thank you, Dialect, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. It is the end of the year, and that means it's time to talk about health insurance.
Yeah,
Yay, so fun.
Yay.
But maybe it won't exist because Trump is president.
Wait. He's not getting rid of health insurance. Those companies make way too much money.
So really, we're going to be talking about the Affordable Care Act, colloquially known as Obamacare, but really let's call it the Affordable Care Act because Keisha is in the room. And you know, that shit is a little offensive. People say Obamacare with scorn.
That's true. I don't understand how it got just solely attributed to him.
Yeah. Like the Congress who stopped all the shit from happening, like, isn't responsible for the state of it now. But,
I'm just saying there's a lot of moving parts involved.
There is. So the Affordable Care Act, and we're talking about it because there are many of you who need to get health insurance through the healthcare exchanges in the Affordable Care Act. There's this fear that Trump is going to take it away, all of that stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we will address all of that. But before we jump in, let's go to an investment appetizer.
Yay! Yeah. That's going to be fun, right?
Yeah, so for the end of the year, we have a special one for you, too.
Invest in presents. Wait, no, that's not
I wish gifts appreciated in value.
Consumer...
No.
Buy things.
Buy things. No. So today,
what?
When is an investment too good to be true?
When,
yes. So there's a lot of things that the thing that's kind of nice about investing in the stock market and investing in something that is heavily regulated for the most part is it's pretty transparent. Companies who are public have to file with the SEC. They make everything public. They make everything really up front as much as possible. Like, you can find out how much the CEO of a company is making when they're trading it publicly, and how many shares there are, and how much each share is for, and what the company's earnings are, and all of that stuff. So if you dig, you know exactly what you're investing in. Now, there's a lot of situations where people come at you and they say, yo, invest in my thing, right? Invest in my business, invest in my company, invest in my blessing circle. I don't know, like all kinds of shit has been coming up, especially during the holiday season, which is why we wanted to talk about it in general, is just this idea of when is something actually too good to be true? Like, when is the return on investment that it happens so fast and it's such a huge amount of money, you triple your returns or you 10 times your returns within a certain period of time where you're like, wait, either I'm getting screwed over or maybe I'm screwing somebody over and I don't realize it.
That sounds pretty good. Let's do that.
Yeah. Wait, you're going to screw someone else over? Is that what sounds good?
Oh, wait. No. Oh.
No. Yeah, so I think that's the best way to really start asking questions is in that line of, is it me getting screwed over or am I ultimately going to be screwing somebody else over, right? And so that's usually how you can tell if an investment is bad. And some questions to ask in terms of when an investment is too good to be true is, how do you calculate your return? So where are the returns coming from and how do you calculate like what percentage you're actually getting? The other thing is, does the investment appreciate in value? Do I get income from it? Do I get both? How do you calculate what the income I'm getting from it is? How do you calculate the value that's being appreciated? And then, is the investment being audited by a third party? Is someone overseeing this? Because calling something an investment means that you should be regulated. You should be regulated in some sense, in some form or fashion, by some other entity that says, hey, this is really something where you could lose all your money, but the intention is that it's going to grow in value. The other question you should ask is, what will I be specifically investing in? Now, it's easy when you're investing in real estate or when you're investing in stock, but when you're investing in a company, are you investing in the business model? Are you investing in the idea? Like, what is the actual business model that someone is presenting you with?
Yeah, that's the hardest thing when someone asks you to personally invest is it's unclear where the money's going most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it can be a little nebulous, especially when it's a startup or it's something that's new. But for the most part, understanding what you're investing in will give you a little bit more peace of mind. And it'll also give you a little bit of understanding of the actual risk that you're taking. Because that's the other thing with an investment is you should understand the risk that you're taking. If someone tells you there's no risk, you're getting your money, it's a guarantee, run. There's no such thing as an investment with a guarantee. An investment inherently has risk attached to it. period. You could lose all of your money, and that's the risk that you're taking. And the other thing is, how liquid is your cash? How can you access it? How do you access it? When can you get it back? Do you have an expectation on when you'll be able to get your money back, period? And then the final question is, do you need to do any recruiting yourself for the investment to work? So this is where pyramid schemes and multi-level marketing things come in. And then we've been hearing about these blessing circles and looms and things like that. Is, do you have to have people under you for the investment to work in your favor? And that kind of goes back to, are you screwing somebody else over so you can make the money? It goes back to Bernie Madoff, where he was saying my investment returns have been 10, 20% because he was taking other people's money and putting it back and giving it to his investors.
Shady.
So think very hard. There is no such thing as an investment that is going to triple or 10 times your return in a very short period of time. Investments imply that you have to do something long term for it to see value. Period. That's it.
Yay!
Yay! Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. That's your investment appetizer.
That wasn't as heavy as I was expecting. I was thinking it might be worse. So that's we're gonna count that as a positive investment appetizer.
Oh, good. Okay, we'll put it in the positive pile. I like it. All right, so health insurance 2017. Let's talk about what happened to my shit this year, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
This is really funny.
So I qualified for what New York State has. It's called the Essential Plan. And it's basically what they did was, it's a step above Medicaid. And they gave you the ability to have low-cost health insurance for the year if you qualified and made under a certain amount of income. So I went to the doctor yesterday. I went all the way to Chelsea. I went to the doctor. And they said, hi, do you have new insurance? And I said, oh, no. My insurance is good till December. And they said, no, we called yesterday and they actually canceled your insurance at the end of November. And I said, that can't be possible because I just paid my insurance for December.
Wait for it.
Yes. And so they said, well, we called them and they said it was canceled. So I sat in the office and I called Health First. I'm going to call y'all out, motherfuckers. I called Health First. And I said, hey, I'm at the doctor's office right now, and they told me my insurance was canceled. And they said, oh, yes, we got a notice from New York State of Health that we should cancel your insurance on November 4th. And I said, but you sent me a bill, and I paid for the insurance this month and last month. And they said, oh, well, the insurance bills actually will still get sent up to 3 months after we cancel your policy.
They will still bill you for things they aren't giving you.
Yes, straight up. So
that's the Health First policy.
Yep. So that sucked. So basically, they're going to give me a refund. It's going to take 2 weeks to 6 weeks for them to give me my money back.
I feel like is there a reason why you can't prosecute them for fraud?
I have no idea.
Right? Because if I'm paying you for a thing that you're not giving me, that you're billing me, that's fraud, right?
Yeah, because if I didn't have a doctor's appointment this month, I would have never found out. I would have paid my $20 or whatever it was, and I would have gone on my way and not realized that they weren't covering me at all. Terrible, but they're allowed to do it. They can bill up to 3 months afterwards, so that's something to watch out for.
They're allowed to defraud you.
Yes, and nobody sent me a notice that my insurance got canceled.
Well,
the doctor's office didn't call me. Health First didn't tell me. New York State of Health didn't tell me. Nobody told me.
Then they couldn't scam you.
Yeah, so speaking of scams and things too good to be true. So basically that's something to watch out for in 2017.
Your health is a scam.
Oh my
2017.
God. Yes, that's the name of the show. Your health is a scam. So health insurance in 2017, if you do apply for Medicaid or you do apply for the Essential Plan in New York State, definitely check to make sure you're super clear on what the policy period is. And for some reason, I would call in November of next year and just find out. But that's just an aside. So let's talk about how to sign up for health insurance on a healthcare exchange through the Affordable Care Act.
It's not that hard. Hey, that's a Oyo Coke scenario. But it's actually not that hard.
It's not. It's basically
hard.
just like
it's
your
easier
shopping.
than it used to be.
Yes, it's easier than it used to be. Well, the thing to really understand is what you're looking at. So what are you getting? Because that's where it gets confusing, is what are the deductibles? What are the copays? When do those kick in? Do you have co-insurance? Blah, blah, blah. I do want to address, before we jump into that, the idea of Trump taking away health insurance. And I think as soon as Trump got elected, on November 15th, the exchanges opened and tons of people signed up for health insurance. So the reality is Trump is not going to be able to take away health insurance by the time he gets inaugurated. It's not going to happen in his first 100 days. There's a lot of things to unravel. Even he has said, maybe I'll keep some of the stuff in the plan. Some of it's pretty good.
And it's pretty unlikely that it's even going to happen during his term.
Yeah,
Because
exactly. It's going to take at least 3 years.
If he says on day one, we're getting rid of this, it's going to take probably that many years for it to stop happening.
Yeah. So there's no fear that it's going to be taken away so much, as right now what's happening is you will see, if you've been on the healthcare exchanges before, if you were paying for health insurance last year, you will see a jump in the premium costs. About 12.7 million people bought health insurance last year through the federal and state marketplaces, and 7.5 million more can participate. And then we got another 9 million Americans who actually were able to receive Medicaid for the first time through the expansion of Medicaid through the Affordable Care Act.
So that's making things more expensive.
Yes. So that's making things more expensive. There's also of the 12.7 million people who have health insurance, they're the ones who need it. They're the ones who got it. They're like, thank goodness I've been sick. I have a chronic illness, and they can't deny me for pre-existing conditions anymore. So there's also that side of it. It's
funny. So it kind of sounds like if you're upset about how your premiums are going up, the fact that your premiums going up is kind of health insurance of its own.
Yes.
Because, before that was the issue, and it's why health insurance seemed like a scam to a lot of people because, hey, if I have a condition, you will drop me or you won't take me.
Right.
But now they have to. And you, healthy person right now, I know a lot of healthy people who are like, man.
Why would I do this?
Yeah, why am I going to pay for your problem? And it's not just you paying for their problem, it's paying for the insurance that when you have a similar problem that they will take you.
Yeah.
You got to pay in. Man, that's how messed up health insurance was. That what Obamacare really is. This is why you can attribute to the president. This is a positive thing. You had to put insurance on the insurance.
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
That's messed up.
Pretty much. Yeah. So that's really the bottom line of what's happening with the premiums. We'll talk more about why they're going up and what they're going up to. Let's roll to a song really quick, and then we can really dig into the types of things that you need to look out for when it comes to choosing your policy.
All right, yeah, and we're going to start off. Yeah, let's go with Dream Insurance from Las Vegas, Nevada. With, I'm sorry, that's the name of the song, not the name of the artist. The song is called Dream Insurance. The artist is called MMLZ. It's a bunch of letters.
Whoa.
Check you in a minute. Bunch of Budget, Bonfire Radio.
Never had these dreams, now I keep having these fucking nightmares.
I'm feeling anonymous. My consciousness is not promised. I dreamt that I had a whole concert for my posthumous, and I was watching it front row. I had a couple blunts rolled. It was really quite magical. Borderline radical. Shit was a motherfucking animal. Now I'm just a mammal. Goddamn beat warm like flannel. Fuck around, get worn like sandals. In the box get smoked like camels. It's a shame that you came and tried to break in my mainframe, but I maintained, setting up in my brain waves. I pushed past the shit that's pushing me. I pushed back and start listening to what's good for me. Read a book, I got a good girl who loves to cook for me. Got a big dream, a big world, and it looks to me as if I want it all and more. Money signs got a solid war, but I just wanna wash up on the shore, somewhere in Southern California where the beach is warm. Live in a big house and ask myself, what did I buy this for? Was it worth it? Cause I swear sometimes I'm questioning my purpose. I'll work till I can pay the bills and the insurance, but I guess for now I'm just a wave stuck in the current. Draw the line clear and never blur it. I wrote this all down in 100 versions, and I use the kick and snare as a diversion. I'm fairly certain that my curtain call came with applause. Now I'm certain that this feeling gets me closer to God. Wave.
Welcome back, Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was MMLZ, or as his mama calls him, out of Vegas, with Dream Insurance. And we here talking about the dream of good health insurance.
Oh my God, we're so far away from that, y'all. I know, it's hard. So, just for the record, the deadline to get health insurance by January 1st actually passed on December 15th, but you do have until January 31st, 2017 to sign up for health insurance and not have to pay the health insurance penalties.
I still got to do that.
Yeah, right? Oh, no, you have insurance.
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess I'm still covered, right?
You're signed up. You got it. So you have until January 31st to sign up. If you wait until January 31st, then your premiums will start and your insurance will start on March 1st. So keep that in mind. If you want insurance by February, you have to sign up by January 15th. If you want insurance by March or at all this year, you have to sign up by January 31st, unless you qualify for a special enrollment period. And we will talk about that a little bit later. But for right now, let's go into why the premium costs have gone up. So we mentioned a little bit of it earlier before the song, and one of the reasons is, so there's 4 main reasons that people have found, and we're seeing an increase, and the average increase is about 22%, they're saying, and that can be arranged from it didn't increase at all, to Ohio going down 2%, to it increasing 145% in Arizona. So it's quite the range. It's quite the range. In New York State, we didn't see them go up that much, honestly, from what I saw last year. The reality is it's still not cheap. It's still, for a good plan, for a solid plan, it's still $350 to $450 a month. So it is a lot of money. We'll talk about subsidies in a second, but part of the reason why premiums went up is, one, not enough young adults enrolled. So that was a big problem, like we said, is a lot of sick people enrolled and a lot of older people enrolled who have chronic medication or chronic illnesses that were being taken care of. Number 2, the people who enrolled were sicker. They actually needed to use the insurance, so they bought it, which, logically makes sense, right?
Yeah, that all makes sense.
Yeah, and then there was this other thing called the risk corridor. And so the risk corridor is something
That's
that
scary.
I know, right? Obama had put in place.
I want to start a metal band called that.
I know. Risk corridor. And it failed. The risk corridor failed.
Oh.
I know. So the plan was that for insurers who made a ton of money, they called it excessively profitable, then they'd be required to put some of that excess money into basically a fund that insurance companies who didn't make as much money could tap into. Now, the problem was that insurance companies didn't make excessive profits, and a lot of them actually had to apply for funds, and the risk corridor couldn't handle all of that.
Yeah.
So basically, $2.87 billion were requested from the risk corridor, and about 12.6% of the funds actually were paid out. So this is why you also saw a lot of insurance companies fold.
Man, that's a risky corridor.
I know, it sure is. You still want that punk band?
No, I said metal band.
Metal band. Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe it should
Very
be a punk
different
band
things.
instead, since it doesn't make any money.
There you go. Oh my gosh. So the risk corridor failed. It's why you saw a lot of insurance companies actually fold, and also a lot of insurance companies not on the exchange this year. So that's the next reason, is because there's fewer companies, there's actually fewer competition. So a lot of the smaller companies, a lot of the co-ops that were formed, the cooperatives that were more on a small scale, actually couldn't sustain themselves because not enough people had signed up to cover the cost of the people who are currently sick.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so the other thing that's happened that's very unfortunate is we saw a lot of PPOs, so preferred provider organizations, I think it's called. Man. So basically what PPOs do is they allow you to go out of network. So if you have a doctor that you love and they're not covered by your insurance, then the insurance company says, all right, well, you're going out of network, so you pay a little bit more because you didn't make a deal with this doctor, but you can still see the doctor and still get insurance coverage. If you decide to stick with your doctor and they're out of network, then you pay the bill 100% out of pocket. And that could be $300 to $400 a visit instead of maybe $100 to $200 a visit. So it's a really big difference in terms of PPOs leaving the market. And part of it is just the fact that they can't afford to stay in the market according to their numbers. So those are the reasons why the premiums have gone up. And so that's something to anticipate when it comes to budgeting for health insurance. Now, here's the interesting thing is I'm sure you've all heard about the subsidies. If you haven't, we're going to talk about it right now because it turns out that 84% of the people who have health insurance are actually getting a tax subsidy for it. So what that means is that 84% of people who are on the healthcare exchange and who got healthcare from there are actually getting help from the government to pay for their health insurance premiums.
Well, yeah, I figure that's the whole way that this works.
Yeah. So it could be you get 100% of your premium paid. It could be that you qualify for the expanded Medicare. Again, 9 million more people qualified for the expanded Medicare, which is amazing. That is a lot of Americans who basically get free health care. And there are a number of doctors, if you've never been on ZocDoc.com, there are a number of doctors who actually do take Medicaid, who do take the essential plan, and you're seeing a lot more doctors accept it. And so that's one thing to consider is if you feel like it's too expensive, but you actually make under a certain amount of income, then you should qualify for the subsidy. So the thing with the income, though, is I think it increases every year. The amount increases every year in terms of what the max is. But the way that they calculate it is it's your income needs to be less than 400% above the poverty level. So that basically means that for for this 2016 it was about 45,000. For 2017, if you make less than $47,250, then you qualify for a subsidy, which basically means they call it a tax subsidy, but basically if your health insurance costs $400, then maybe you'll only pay $300 a month based on your income, or maybe you'll only pay $100 a month based on your income. So I've seen it in the range. And the nice thing with freelancers is they base it on your adjusted gross income. So they base it on your income after you take all of those deductions. And so it's well worth it to apply and see if you qualify for any subsidies and get basically a discount or some help on paying for your health insurance.
Yeah, it's one of those funny things about government subsidies. You know, people always talk about how the middle class are the ones most affected by things. It's because they don't actually understand what government subsidies are. If you make $55,000, sorry, you're paying the higher thing. But the person who makes $30,000 is still paying $300 out of that $400. They're not getting a free medical ride, getting all their teeth replaced for just for shits and giggles.
Right, exactly. So the subsidy is based on a scale. They are increasing the amount of the subsidies in 2017. So even though it feels like you might not be able to qualify for it, again, the amount is higher. The level is higher. Now you can make a little bit more and still qualify for the subsidy because the poverty level rate increased this year. And they're actually covering more of the healthcare costs. So it's absolutely worth it. If you are single, again, it's $47,000. If you are a 2-family household, it's $65,000. If you're a 4-family household, the level is $97,000 where you get phased out. And for a family of 8, it's $163,000. And so if your income is actually around 200% or lower of the poverty level line, then you are eligible for a nicer plan too. You can get a silver plan with lower deductibles and copays. Ooh. So you just have to go onto your state's healthcare exchange website. For New York State, it's newyorkstateofhealth.ny.gov, and they will calculate the subsidy for you based on your income. It's a long-ass form. It's going to take you some time to fill out. It'll probably take at least an hour, I'm not going to lie, for you to fill out the form and look through the plans and see what subsidies you qualify for. But if you feel like you can qualify for a subsidy, then it's well worth it to get the health insurance because otherwise you are paying a penalty. You're paying a tax penalty. There's also a new kind of plan that comes out that is coming out this year, and it's being offered in some areas. We actually just got this. It's called a simple choice plan. So to explain the brilliancy of the simple choice plan, let's talk about what a deductible is first. So a deductible is basically the amount that you're responsible for. You're saying to the insurance company, I am sharing this risk with you, and you're saying I'm going to pay up to this certain amount of money, and then the insurance can kick in. So high deductible plans have gone up. So the highest deductible you will see for a single person is $7,150 or $14,300 for a family. That's a lot of money, right?
It's a lot of money.
That means you have to pay out of pocket about $7,000 for the highest deductible plans. I know. So that's the highest out of pocket, and a lot of companies have been matching the deductible with that. So you have to pay out of pocket $7,000 before the insurance kicks in. So this is basically what they call a catastrophic plan. You're saying, I'm not really going to use insurance this year, but if some crazy shit happened where I got run over by a bus or whatever, then...
To be clear, it's an in case of catastrophe
It's
plan.
just in case of
catastrophe. It's not saying the
catastrophe.
plan itself is catastrophic because it's so expensive.
But it sure feels like it, doesn't it? So the nice thing about...
Yeah, man, if I get that plan, I'm just going to live recklessly because, I'm spending that money. I better use it.
I know, right? Well, that's the crazy part is these catastrophic plans are still costing you $300 a month. So that's the brutal part. Now, high deductible health plans, you are actually eligible to sign up into a health savings account and take a tax deduction on any medical expenses you do pay out of pocket. So how that works is if your deductible is more than $13,000 for an individual or $2,600 for a family, you can sign up for an HSA, health savings account, and you can do it at healthsavings.com is a good one, HSA Bank is a good one, and they all come with small fees. And how it works is you can put away up to $3,400 a year if you're single, or twice that if there's two or more of you. And you basically spend medical expenses out of that account, and then you take a tax deduction on it at the end of the year, and you'll probably get $1,000 or $2,000 back depending on how much you put away. And so that's a really nice tax deduction for somebody. And the nice thing about an HSA is also that you don't lose the money every year. So if you didn't spend all of that money, it actually all rolls over into next year, and it'll continue to roll over for the rest of your life. So you never lose that money. And if you use the money for medical expenses, then when you take it out, it is also tax-free. So you put it in, you get a tax deduction. You leave it in there. You can invest it if you don't plan to use it. All the growth is tax-free. And if you take it out and use it for medical expenses, then it's also tax-free. So it's a triple tax benefit. It's a new way that a lot of people are saving for retirement and for medical expenses for retirement, because the reality is as we get older, we're going to just have more medical expenses. So if you save for it now, you save a ton of money in taxes on the growth and on the contribution. So an HSA is a great thing to consider if you have a high deductible health plan. Now, to qualify as a high deductible health plan, you actually are required to pay for all of your services out of pocket until you hit the deductible. So this is the part where it gets a little bit tricky. So this is something that you probably need to call the insurance carrier first before you open an HSA and start putting money away. Because with a simple choice plan, which is the plan that we got, the way that it works is we still have that deductible. The deductible's, $7,000. But with the simple choice plan, we are only subject to copays for primary care physicians and specialist visits. So we pay $10 for primary care visits, and we pay $50 for specialist visits, and it's not subject to the deductible, just the visit itself. Where normally, if we just went in and saw like a dermatologist, for instance, I got bills for $180 to see the dermatologist, versus just paying $50 as a copay to get something checked out by a specialist. So the thing with that is because some of your expenses are not subject to the deductible, that means you cannot open an HSA. Your plan is not considered HSA eligible, is what they call it. So that's something to check out if you are in a high deductible plan. For us, the cost savings made a lot more sense. The potential cost savings made a lot more sense to stick with a simple choice plan versus trying to get an HSA, because the potential medical bills were going to be so much higher. So that's something to really think about when it comes to the types of plans that you have. Not all places have a simple choice plan available. Not all plans have the HSA option available. So I would definitely double check, but really think about when you set up your deductible to set aside money for medical expenses in general. So you're paying for the insurance premium itself, and you're responsible for the deductible amount. The other thing to think about, so I just did this with a client recently, is if you are someone who, for instance, sees a therapist every single week or sees a doctor every single month, it actually might save you more money to go with a more expensive plan knowing that you're going to max out the deductible.
Right, that makes sense. If you're going to
Yeah.
use it, go ahead and get the more expensive one.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it doesn't make sense to get the most expensive one sometimes because the cost of the premium is so much higher. And even when you think you're going to hit the deductible, there's a little bit of math involved in this. But let's say your deductible is $2,000 and your premium is $450 a month, right? Now, that's like a silver plan. That's an example of a silver plan. Silver plan deductibles are around $2,000. If you see a therapist every single week, or every other week even, calculate how long it will take you to hit that deductible and then what your copays will be after that. And then see if it makes sense to do that versus a gold plan, for instance. So a gold plan will cost you $100 more a month, but your deductible will be $600 instead of $2,000.
Right. So if you're going to hit that deductible quickly,
Yeah, exactly.
you upgrade to the gold.
Yeah. Unless the co-pays themselves are so much involved with this. So unless
You see, this is why it gets confusing.
This is why it gets confusing.
I'm right here. I'm with you. All of that made sense.
And then
All
I'm
was
like,
easy.
wait.
And then you go, unless.
So here's how to do the math. So one, add up how much it's going to cost for the premium every single year. So let's do it right now. So
Yeah,
let's
let's do
say
this in real numbers.
the silver plan is $450, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the silver plan is $450. $450 times 12 is $5,400 a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the $2,000 deductible, so that's another $2,000 a year. And then after you hit the
Wait,
deductible,
400 times 12 should be 48.
450 times 12.
Oh, 450 times. Excuse me.
450. That's what silver plans are costing,
Excuse me.
unfortunately. So that's $5,400 plus $2,000. So out of pocket, you know in your head that $7,400 is coming out, right? And then let's say that deductible, you're going to use it up by halfway through the year. In 6 months, the deductible will be used up, and now you only have to pay $25 a visit, let's say, right?
25 a visit. Okay.
$25
For
a visit
6 months out of the year.
for 6 months, and you go every week, right?
Okay.
You go every week, and it's $25. So 25 times
24.
26 weeks, right?
Oh, 26
It's
weeks. Yeah, I guess half the
$650.
year.
Yep. So that's another $650. So your total out of pocket is $5,400 plus $2,000 plus $650. Guys, we're doing math live on the air right now. So out of pocket is $8,050, right? So that's a silver plan. Let's say you go with the gold plan. The gold plan costs $550 a month, and typically plans are about $100 more a month every level you go up, between like $80 to $100 from what I've seen. And so let's say the gold plan is $550 a month. And so you're doing $550 times 12, which is $6,600, right? You got $6,600. And then your deductible is only $600. So that's nice. And that means that your deductible is probably eaten up after 2 months, right? So that means that you're paying a copay for 10 months out of the year. So that is 40 weeks or 40 weeks of copays. So if it's a $25 copay times 40 weeks, that's $1,000. So $6,600 plus 1,000 plus 600 is actually $8,200. So the silver plan was going to cost you $8,050 out of pocket, and the gold plan is actually going to cost you $8,200 out of pocket. So in this situation where you're seeing someone every week, or you're paying to see somebody every single week, it actually makes sense to go with the silver plan. So the components that you need to add up,
But it's tight.
it's tight, right? It's about $200. So the question too is, if you see somebody every other week, or if you see somebody every month, what is that calculation?
Well, my thing was with the every week, I was like, if it's $200 more just in total, well, that now makes it enough to mitigate that risk and get a little extra.
Right, because
Just get the extra coverage.
Yeah.
If it's only $200 more anyway.
that's true. Yeah, totally. Well, the other thing too is on the other side of it is, if you know you're going to hit the deductible early, then why not pay a lower premium and take advantage of the copays 6 months in? Because that's the other thing too, is you know you're going to hit the $2,000.
Right,
You're
'cause
gonna
you see,
pay.
That's the next.
Yeah.
You see, that's also the confusing part, is thinking about how the copays factor into all that.
Yes, because the copays definitely add up. And so that's the difficult part in terms of making the decision, is if you want the extra coverage, if you think that something's going to happen and that $200 kind of makes sense to you to pay a little extra so you can cover it, that's one thing. But if you know you're going to hit the deductible anyway, then does it make sense to actually let the deductible happen? And then after you hit the deductible, that second half of the year, everything is copay based. So the components to think about, again, are total up all the premiums for the year, add the deductible. So figure out how long it will take you to hit the deductible, add the deductible to that amount, and then figure out what your copays would be based on the frequency of your visits. And those are the three components to figure out how much is this actually going to cost you a year and which plan should you actually get. Woo! Math.
Yay!
I know insurance is so fun, right?
This all makes sense, right, everybody? Just nod your heads along if you
get it. You all get it, right? Yeah. Woo! So really the question is, if you're someone who sees someone on a regular basis, it's a question of which plan. It's a question of how you want to handle the deductibles. And really, it's hard to predict things that you don't anticipate. So plan for the things that you do anticipate. And I feel like that's the best way to think of handling health insurance is you look at these numbers and you say, all right, I know that I'm going to use these services up to this point. So let me get the cheaper plan, for instance, or let me get the one that's going to be a little bit less out of pocket. And that's how you kind of save money on the health insurance side. Whew. All right, dialect.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I want to ask you.
Yeah.
And excuse me if it's kind of a it depends type of question.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't know how to get started with all those numbers you just threw at me, what do I do first? Because a lot of people, this is their first time getting health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And all of what you said makes mathematical, logical sense. But what do I need? What's my plan?
Yeah.
How do I determine that if I don't know all these things already?
Well, I feel like the first thing that you should do is look. You should apply. You should look. You should see what you qualify for. You should see what you can afford, first of all, every single month. And you should think about what you anticipate needing the health insurance for. That's it.
Okay, so step one, we apply.
Yep. And see
Step
if you qualify
two,
for subsidies.
We see, see what if you qualify for subsidies. Step two, see what you can afford. So actually look at your budget and how much you've been spending. And then after you figure out what you can afford, that's your range of ones, then be like, what are my needs?
Yeah.
And the thing that I wanted to bring up is to make sure when we're looking at these things that we're real with ourselves about what our needs are.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of folks who are quick to skip on the medical to save money.
Right, exactly. And that could end up costing you if something crazy were to happen to you.
Yeah, don't even think about your health. Like, just think about the money. We're just talking about the money part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in terms of figuring out like what insurance policy is right for you, the things to really watch out for are what's the deductible, and also look at what their prescription stuff is covering. So there's a lot of policies out there where the prescription is actually, you have to pay the full price of the prescription up until you hit the deductible also. So that's also something to budget for. If it makes sense to pay a little bit more money to get a prescription plan that actually provides copays or pays for most of the pays for most of the cost of the prescription, then go for that plan. Those are going to be the simple choice plans that you see most commonly. There's 4 types of plans actually. We already talked about silver and gold. Bronze covers about 60% of medical costs. Silver will cover about 70%. That's how these deductibles are determined basically. Gold covers about 80% and platinum covers about 90%. Platinum is most often not cost effective. That's when you get into the $600 to $800 range a month for insurance. That's the kind of stuff you're going to see in a group plan with an employer and things like that. So really, in terms of like going through the logical math and thinking through what you need, really just get an understanding of how much you're going to be paying out of pocket. So you're going to be paying the premiums themselves, and what deductible do you feel like you can handle on top of that? Now, the thing is, the other question is, why do I need to get insurance at all, right?
Well, you got to, because otherwise you got to pay the penalty.
Yes. So there are penalties for not having a plan, and the penalties for 2017, the minimum penalty for 2017 is $695 for an adult. Now, if you would have to pay the minimum penalty, you should honestly probably get on the exchange and pay for the health insurance, because it's the higher of $695 for an adult, or 2.5% of your income.
Ah. Oh.
Yeah, so it goes up every single year. So if your penalty would be $695 basically, then you probably qualify for a subsidy. It's 2.5% of your income, and it caps at the cheapest bronze policy. So basically, the max that you could pay in New York State, for instance, I've seen the cheapest bronze policy at about $350. So $350. The most out of pocket you'd pay is $4,200. It's 2.5% of your income. So, whew, that's crazy. So basically, if you make $60,000 a year, then your penalty would be $1,500. Now, that's significantly less than $5,400, right?
Right.
So you'd pay $1,500 for not having insurance, basically.
And that number continues to rise.
And that number will rise every single year. So last year it was 2% of your income. The year before that, it wasn't even a percentage of your income, I don't think.
Until it just makes sense to
get insurance.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the whole point of the penalties, is it gives people a little bit of time to get the insurance and to kind of onboard themselves onto this. And I think the eventual goal and the way they thought the numbers were going to work out is that more people who are healthy were signing on. It's just that there are not enough companies out there who are incentivizing people to sign up and to be well and go to preventative care and all that.
How was that not incentive enough?
What, the penalties?
Yeah.
I mean, for a lot of people in my head, I'm like, oh, I could just pay $1,500 instead of $5,400. Or even, let's say, with the bronze plan. But then not have
health insurance. It's still going to end up costing you during the year.
Yeah, that's true, because it would be $4,200 because it's a bronze plan, yeah. So it's still going to end up costing you, and you're still going to go see the doctor.
$2,700. Yeah, you're probably going to incur $3,000 worth of medical expenses.
Yeah, especially if you want to go to your doctor every year and get checked up. So preventative care is included. All preventative care costs are included in every single policy. You can have a child on the policy until they're 26. And again, you cannot be denied for pre-existing conditions. So those are the main factors that the Affordable Care Act required all insurance companies to have. So I think we should go to a song, because that was a lot.
Yeah, let's
numbers.
take ourselves far away from health insurance. Let's go to
break.
Pisa Italia for the artist Herrera featuring Fume and Sunshine with their song Sugar. We'll catch up in a minute. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio.
Sunshine. We get sugar for your soul, y'all. Va così, lo facciamo così. Sempre connessi. La musica ci parla, sempre lei ci salva. Dolce come l'alba, sole che riscalda. Bassa o alta, fa da spalla alla tua vita, quindi tu rispettala. La pace è garantita e vai a con Dios. Tranquillo, rico super freak, più di Rick, chick to chick. Con il beat che conduco più di Frizzy. Mistico sul mix, non capisci. Rap advance come CD. Arrangio come Gigi, profil tipo enigma. Per te resta un dogma, rivista taurina che inquina nuove scene musicali, montature colossali. Più di capire o quo varis. Resto solo sopra il groove, approvato dalla strada. Rap trito piada per il gregge. Petrolio che distrugge la vera essenza. Pensa per la demenza quotidiana.
Qui la base mi richiede, senza rete o redine, fino a bucar le retine, visioni epiche, senza le repliche, metriche in più di 1000 egloghe, lo so tu segui lei, dai segui me, se le regole combaciano, le remore ci lasciano, le fregole ci fasciano, iperbole di fascino, le muse che mi parlano, mi calmano, qua tutti quanti sparano, è Capodanno, no? Caldo e calmo, parlo perché so che non può farlo, con il dovuto tatto, contatto. tatto, come sulla guancia quando schiaccio il palmo. Le mie vedute a campo largo, al camposanto. Zen come a Palermo, fresh come all'inferno. Flash più di Kodak, stai fermo. Fotti con me come fanno shampoo a Kojak, scherzo. Sorridi e resta fermo, adesso esco.
And we're back. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was Herrera featuring Fume and Sunshine with Sugar. Come out of Pisa, Italy. And we're here talking about a piece of your health insurance. Whether you're going to pay it, whether you're going to take the penalty.
I know.
Which one you ought to do.
Which one you ought to
Whether
do.
you prefer to co-pay your deductible. All the fun words.
All the fun words. Well, one thing that I wanted to reiterate in terms of getting health insurance is part of what the insurance company does is the reason they have a network is they've negotiated rates with their doctors to charge you less for your visit. So I mentioned earlier that a doctor visit could cost $400 out of pocket if you didn't have any insurance. And the reason why it goes down to $150 or $200 a visit is because the insurance company says, hey, we're going to send you all these people. We're going to put you in our network, and you're going to be able to see all these people, and you agree to charge less. That way you don't have to advertise, you don't have to market. People are just going to come to you, whatever it is, whatever deal they strike. And so that's how having insurance does help you reduce your medical costs if there's a reason why you have to go to the doctor.
Man, it is so mafia.
I know, it's terrible.
It sounds like a protection racket, man.
It does. It is one of those things where you're just like, oh my God. But so that's one thing to remember before you choose a plan is to call your doctors directly and find out if they accept the plan that you're considering. This is especially important for your primary care physician. This is important for your therapist. This is important for your, dermatologist that you see once a month, whatever it is. Like, it's important to talk to your doctor and make sure you also choose the insurance they take. Otherwise, you could end up paying for insurance and still having to pay for out-of-network care.
Right.
So that is very, very critical. There's no point in having the insurance if the doctors you want to see don't take it.
So what's the deal with that? Say I'm a person I do care about. I've got specific practitioners who I want to use. Mm-hmm. And they've got different insurances. And also the insurance I was planning to use by going through my calculation before doesn't necessarily have the doctors that I want in it.
Right.
Like what are my options there?
Well, in that case, what you need to do is, again, pull out the calculator and figure out the way that you have to narrow it down from that end is you have to just take all of the insurances that your doctors do take and only consider those. Because the reality is, unless you're ready to switch doctors, you're okay with switching doctors, then you need to get the insurance that they take. Otherwise, there's no point in having it, period. Because you're going to be paying out of pocket, and it's not going to be going towards any kind of deductible.
So, yeah, I know there's no good answer to this. So I guess the best thing you can do is, if you're going to go to that doctor anyway, do the insurance they take.
Yeah.
Because that's just is what it is. If you know you're going anyway.
Yeah, well, because that's the other thing I want to reiterate is the out-of-pocket that you pay for a doctor that is out-of-network does not go towards your deductible.
Right.
You are not paying your deductible down. You're not getting any closer to having your insurance cover your health care because it's out-of-network. So you have to be in network for the insurance to work out.
Right. They don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, and we said earlier PPOs are going away. So the ability for you to go out of network is going away. So you have to just find out who your doctor takes, pay a little bit extra a month, and go with them if you have to. Go with that insurance company if you have to.
Remember when you were a kid and then your favorite athlete signed with a shoe brand that you didn't necessarily like and you bought that shoe anyway? It's time to buy that shoe.
It's time to buy that shoe insurance. No, not shoe insurance. Oh, that's so sad. I need a moment. No. Oh, man. So the other thing I do want you to watch out for is I've heard this before come up where you put your name into a system, you know.
That already...
I know.
One-sentence horror movies.
I know. And you may start getting emails or phone calls from health insurance brokers. And you might want to watch out for these health insurance brokers because they often sell these things called short-term plans. They're short-term healthcare plans. They're meant to bridge healthcare between, like, transitioning between a job and the special enrollment period or whatever it is. And the thing with health insurance brokers, the thing with these short-term healthcare plans is they actually don't qualify for the standards under the Affordable Care Act. So they either can deny people with pre-existing condition.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Which means...
So how does that even work? I thought that was the whole thing. I thought that was why we have this whole unified care thing.
Yes, but insurance companies can still do whatever they want. So an insurance company can say, you know, here's a health insurance plan. We're not going to cover preventative care. Or we're not going to let your child be on here until they're 26. We might have better rates and it might be cheaper and you might still get the care that you want. But... it's not going to qualify for the Affordable Care Act, so you still have to pay the tax penalty.
Just a reminder, this is still a seller's market.
I know, right? So if you do go that route, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's more of just you understanding you still have to pay the penalty and to calculate how much less that insurance costs. Or, honestly, if you're working with a broker, have the broker tell you all this stuff. Have the broker tell you, hey, this doesn't qualify for the Affordable Care Act. You're going to be paying this penalty. But because the policy is so much cheaper and it has all the things you want, the penalty will be offset by the cheaper cost or the better coverage or whatever it is. And so that's sort of the game that other people are playing right now. So just watch out for that. They're called short-term
so much
healthcare plans.
Yeah, this is so much that just complicates things even further. It's like, here's a situation where you'll get health care and you'll still pay the penalty, but we think it'll be worth it to pay the penalty.
Yeah, I know.
Man, this is like when you get out the airport and there's that cat who's not the taxi driver.
Right, and he's like, yo, need a ride?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I mean, yes, but no. But yes? I don't know. Will I have to pay a penalty? What's going on? Will you drive me around the city for 3 times as long as I need you to? Like, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they're not regulated by the Affordable Care Act. So that's something to watch out for. And the numbers could work out, and it might make sense for you to pay a penalty.
So crazy that's allowed to exist.
I know. But, I mean, insurance companies don't have to be on the Affordable Care Act. That's why so many of them have left. You know, maybe they just do big companies. Maybe they just do employers. Like... It is what it is. So that's the marketplace that it is. I mean, the thing that we do recommend is that you shop around. You don't just get the insurance that you got last year this year. You do go on the exchange. You do look for the lowest cost plan within the parameters that you need, based on what your health insurance takes, based on what your based on what your doctors take, based on how much care you're going to need this coming year, all of that kind of stuff. Take all of that into account, because it is worth seeing if there's better coverage or a lower premium that you can pay. The last thing that we want to talk about is Medicaid. Medicaid and the Essential Plan. This is another reason to get on your healthcare exchange, is to see if you qualify for Medicaid, or in New York State, if you qualify for what they call the Essential Plan. And the way this works is, if you make below a certain amount of money, and again, as a freelancer, they take your income after deduction, so they take that adjusted gross income, they take it after deductions, which means that you maybe grossed $50,000, but you're only able to claim $22,000, for instance, or your income only counts as $22,000 because you claim the rest of it as deductions, then you might actually be able to qualify for free or super low-cost health insurance. Medicaid is free health insurance completely, and so the way that works is there's Medicaid, and then there's what's called Medicaid Managed Care. And so Medicaid is kind of this transition entity in between that tells you that where you are on there for a couple months until you get what is a Medicaid managed care plan. And so what that means is you stay on Medicaid for a month while you're waiting for your Medicaid managed care plan to kick in. And then your Medicaid managed care plan is basically just an insurance company saying, hey, we accept Medicaid. We're letting Medicaid pay for this. So this is what you get. The network is significantly smaller than other plans for sure, but you can still get all of your doctor's visits in and all of it is free. So look into Medicaid, look into the essential plan. And I lied. There's one more thing that I want to talk about is special enrollment periods. So open enrollment means that you have until January 31st, and your special enrollment period is for those big life change events. So if you get married, if you have a baby, if you lose your job, if your income goes down, if your income goes up, then that is considered a special enrollment. If you move states, if you switch jobs, whatever it is, if your employer doesn't offer health insurance anymore all of a sudden, then you qualify for what's known as a special enrollment period, which means you have 60 days to apply for health insurance on the healthcare exchange. Those are the only times that you can apply for health insurance outside of the open enrollment period. So if you don't think that's going to happen, or it's not going to happen before January 31st, get health insurance by January 31st. If you want to push it off as long as possible and not have to pay premiums until March, get it on January 31st or get it after January 15th. And I think that's all the time we have. Dialect's giving me the little whirly wrap-up sign thing.
Yeah,
It's time
yeah,
to go.
yeah. It's time to wrap
Time
on
to stop
up.
talking about health insurance and, move on with your lives.
Yeah, forget health.
Oh,
Who
God.
needs to live? Let's just play songs and dance and have fun. And we're going to leave you off with actually this. From the Koreatown Oddity, clearly from Koreatown in Los Angeles. Yes, that could have been Koreatown in anywhere, but from Los Angeles, we have the Koreatown Oddity with no health insurance. And we'll check you next week. Bunch of budget. Bonfire Radio. Peace.
Yeah. No health insurance, no dental plan, no college degree. It's the Koreatown Oddity, obviously. To haters that wish I would lose all of my steam if there was Mortal Kombat, you would fall off of the screen into a pit of spikes. What you think you are to me if our solar system is smaller than a strawberry seed? In this vast universe, I'm full of hope. When humans assume the worst, I can burst from anticipation, waiting for shit to surface. And all I do remain true and stay earnest, cause authentic respect is only given to niggas that earn it and really deserve it. Yo, I be like, fuck pigs. Although I know there's a comment that probably offends Kermit. I just got a $288 parking ticket, sleeping on the couch in my mom's crib, trying not to get evicted. Young, black, gifted, optimistic, and I thank God for a sense of humor when life's bullshit kicks in. Yeah. Cause the more and more I realize life is hard. Cause the more and more I realize life is hard. Yeah, man. I'm a grown man and I don't got this shit. Still no health insurance, no dental plan, no college degree. My mom says it's cause I smoke all of this weed. I look to the sky, reach my arms to receive all these impossible dreams. Treat thoughts like crop, often water the seeds so they can grow organically. Cause I'm a human being, not a robotic machine with batteries. Ignore my heart for a check, yo, that ain't me. Which explains why I still struggle financially until my shit pops. Cause the more and more I realize life is hard. Cause the more and more I realize life is hard. Yeah, man, I'm gonna figure this shit out though.
So it is the selflessness that keeps your mind always serene. It is the selfishness that constantly creates problems in our mind.